right, let's dive into two of the biggest health challenges on the planet right now, obesity and mental health. But here's the thing. What if they aren't two separate problems at all? What if they're actually deeply tangled up together? Biologically, socially, the whole deal? Let's get into it. So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll get a handle on the sheer scale of these two issues. Then, we're going to explore the fascinating two-way street that connects them, see how they lock people into a vicious cycle, and finally, and this is the important part, we'll talk about how to break that cycle by focusing on the power of right now. Okay, so before we can even connect the dots between obesity and mental health, we first have to wrap our heads around just how massive each of these issues is on its own. And honestly, the numbers, they're pretty jaw-dropping. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. 1 in every 8 people on the entire planet. This isn't some small niche problem. We're talking about a global pandemic. It's more than doubled among adults since 1990, and you can just imagine the incredible strain that puts on healthcare systems and on people's lives. And if you want a hard number, that's 890 million adults. But what's really alarming is the huge spike we're seeing in childhood obesity. We're now talking about over 390 million children and adolescents who are considered overweight. That is setting up an entire generation for a lifetime of health challenges. The scale is just immense. At the exact same time, we have this parallel crisis just exploding in mental health. If you look at this chart, between just 2010 and 2021, the worldwide burden of anxiety and depressive disorders shot up by over 16%. And you know, these aren't just statistics. That represents millions upon millions of lives being deeply impacted. So this all raises a really critical question, doesn't it? Are we just seeing two unfortunate trends happening at the same time, a coincidence? Or is there something much deeper going on here, something that connects them? Well, the research is pretty clear. It's definitely the latter. So let's start by looking at this from one direction, how the physical reality of living with obesity can have a profound, and I mean profound, impact on a person's mental and emotional world. And the impact isn't just one simple thing. It's actually this really complex web of at least 3 major pathways. You've got the social pressures from the outside world, the psychological toll it takes on your inner world, and then you've got these invisible biological changes happening deep inside the body. Let's start with that social factor, because its impact is absolutely massive. I'm talking about weight stigma. All the negative attitudes, the judgment, the discrimination people face just because of their size. And this isn't just about hurt feelings. This has real, measurable psychological consequences that can lead to isolation and very serious mental health challenges. Now for the biological link, which is just fascinating. This is not all in your head. It's literally in your body's chemistry. See, in obesity, fat tissue can actually release these tiny molecules that create a state of constant, low-level inflammation. A good way to think about it is like a smoke detector with a low battery, just chirping constantly in the background. Well, those inflammatory signals can travel to your brain, mess with the chemicals that regulate your mood, and seriously increase the risk for depression. But here's the thing. This is absolutely not a one-way street. So now, let's flip the coin and look at the other side. How our mental health can in turn put us at a much higher risk of developing obesity. And this is where you really see just how strong that two-way link is. The numbers are staggering. People with obesity have a 55% higher chance of developing depression. And get this, people with depression have a 58% higher chance of developing obesity. It's so obvious that they're just feeding each other. So, how does this actually happen? Well, when you're struggling mentally, it's pretty common to turn to food for comfort, right? It's a coping mechanism. Then there are some medications, like certain antidepressants, that can mess with your metabolism or increase appetite. And of course, a condition like depression just saps your motivation, wrecks your sleep, and makes it way harder to manage stress, all of which are huge drivers for weight gain. So when you put all of this together, what you get isn't some simple straight line of cause and effect. Nope. What you get is a powerful, self-perpetuating feedback loop, a truly vicious cycle that can feel almost impossible to escape. Let me just walk you through it. It might start with experiencing weight stigma. That can lead to feelings of depression or low self-worth. To cope with that emotional pain, maybe you turn to food. That, in turn, can lead to more weight gain, which then, unfortunately, often leads to experiencing even more stigma. And boom, the cycle just strengthens and repeats over and over again, leaving a person feeling completely trapped. So this brings us to the most important question of all. How do you break a cycle that powerful? Well, the answer isn't to just treat the weight or to just treat the depression. It requires an integrated approach, one that addresses the whole person. And what does that integrated approach look like? Well, it takes a team, a whole team. You need a doctor to manage the physical health side. You need a psychologist or therapist to address the mental and emotional pieces. A dietitian is key for nutritional guidance, and an exercise physiologist can help create a safe, effective activity plan. The point is, no single professional can tackle this alone. Effective treatment pulls from a whole toolbox of strategies. Yes, of course, diet and exercise are in there, but just as important is psychotherapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, which helps people change those destructive thought patterns. Mindfulness can be a game changer for stress, and sometimes medications are part of the solution too. But crucially, all of this needs to be wrapped in a strong support system. Now, I want to end by focusing on one of those strategies that is just so incredibly powerful, because it's all about giving the control back to you. I'm talking about mindfulness. It's about focusing your energy where it actually matters most. I absolutely love this quote from a therapist who works with bariatric patients. It just captures that aha moment perfectly. It's that realization that the emotional fat, the baggage, can be just as heavy and debilitating as the physical fat. That is the moment that real change becomes possible. That same therapist shared this incredible insight. Think about it. When we spend all of our energy stuck in the past, ruminating on what we did or didn't do, it just fuels depression. And when we spend all our energy worrying about the future, about what may or may not happen, that fuels anxiety. And what does that leave? It leaves absolutely no energy for the only time we can actually make a difference, right now. Being mindful of your current thoughts, your current behaviors. That's the single most effective way to improve your well-being. That is where your power truly lies. So I'll leave you with the question this therapist suggests asking every night. It's not about fixing the past or perfecting the future. It's simply about taking one small positive action in the present. What did I do today that will make me healthier tomorrow?